Hi, 7th grade. We are going to do a quick little preview lesson on Chapter 9 before the lesson actually begins on Monday for Section 1. I am looking at the table of contents for Chapter 9 right now. We are going to be talking about surface area and volume. The big difference between surface area and volume is, for example, let's use a cylinder. If I had a cylinder, like a can of soup, and I said, what's the surface area? I'm asking, how much space does each face or shape of that shape take up? Like if I wanted to cover the whole thing in construction paper, I would need to know the area of the surface. Now, volume is how much that shape can hold. So, for example, again, if I had that cylinder, if I wanted to find the volume, I want to know how much water or like liquid could I put to fill all of the cylinder up. Today we're going to be looking at the preview lesson. Now, preview lesson is on page 353 in your book, so you can follow along with me if you'd like. Quick little reminder, preview lessons are things that you should know how to do already. None of this should be new. It is just a review. You need to know how to do these things so that you can succeed in this chapter. The first thing we're going to look at is finding the area of squares and rectangles. Now, we were always taught area is length times width. Every now and then you might hear me say area equals base times height. They're the same thing. The base is the bottom part, okay, and the height is just how tall the shape is. So I would say for this, the base is 7, the height is 3. You can also say that the length is 7 and that the width is 3. It's the exact same thing. Now to find the area, you just times those two numbers. 7 times 3 is 21. And then how you would label area is millimeters squared, which means I could fit 21 millimeter by millimeter squares in this shape. Remember, it's kind of like making an array. I know that these aren't very even, but if I had 7 by 3, that would be 21. Okay, we're going to go ahead and do some of these together. I suggest grabbing a piece of paper, lined paper. This will be your exit ticket. Your exit ticket's going to have not just one question, but it'll have all these questions that we do together, and plus other ones. So if you look at this let me get rid of my little piece of paper right here. If you look at this page, I've got a try it yourself section. There's 3 questions here, and then another try it yourself section, 3 questions here. Your exit ticket is going to be all of these problems that we do together, except I'm going to leave one from each section for you to do. But the exit ticket itself is still going to be out of 6 points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You're still going to do all the problems. It's just that a couple will be on your own. So grab that paper. At the top of your paper, I want you to write, I'll go and write it down for you too. Let me change my color. Okay, so at the top of this paper, you're going to write Chapter 9 Preview Exit Ticket. All right, so after you have written Chapter 9 Preview Exit Ticket on your paper, we can go and begin. We're going to do number 1 first. I'm going to go ahead and put my little blank piece of paper down here. You do not need to draw these shapes on your paper. You just need to do the math with me, okay? Find the area of the square or the rectangle. All right, number 1. I've got a area equals length times width or base times height. It's just going to be 11 times 9. 11 times 9 equals 99. How do I label this? It's squared units always, right? Area is always the little squares that you can fill in. And there's your answer. So go ahead and circle that. So on number 1 on your paper, it should look something like that. And make sure you circle it. Number 2. 4.2 feet by 8.5 feet. Remember, all you have to do is length times the width, or the base times the height. Number 2 is going to be for you to do on your own. I want to see how you do on number 2. Make sure you label it correctly and make sure you circle your answer. You can pause the video right now if you want to do that on your own. I'm going to go on to 3. Number 3. Area equals the length times the width or base times the height. It's a square, so each side is 2/3, 2/3. It's just going to be 2/3 times 2/3. Quick little review. When you multiply fractions, you just multiply the tops with the tops, the bottoms with the bottoms. 2 times 2 is 4. 3 times 3 is 9. Before you say that's your answer, you ask, can I reduce that? There is nothing I can take out of a 4 and a 9, so I'm going to just say my answer is 4/9 inches squared. Okay. We have 3 done for our exit ticket. Now we're going to talk about triangles. When you find the area of a triangle, I want you to remember that a triangle is really just half of a square or half of a rectangle, right? If I were to like double this and flip one around, these two triangles would be identical to one another. I know it's hard to see because I can't draw them very nicely identical to one another, but if this side is 6, that means the top side is also 6. If this side is 7, that means this side is also 7. Technically, I don't even need the length of that middle piece because I really don't need it. Okay. So knowing that a triangle is only half of a rectangle, the reason why the formula is the way it is because you are basically finding a normal rectangle, area equals base times height, or length times width, right? It's just that I want you to divide it in half because it's only half of the rectangle. Now there's 2 ways you can divide things. You can either divide it in half or multiply it by a half, because that's the exact same thing. Multiplying by a half is the same thing as dividing it by 2. So a lot of times I don't really multiply by halves, I just say divide by 2, okay? But it's the same thing. So in what I do, I say area of a triangle is the length times the width divided by 2. Or you might hear me say base times height divided by 2. Same thing, okay? All right, so in that case, looking at this triangle, the base is 6, the height is 7. 7 times 6, gum on your shoe, 42. Now I got to take 42 and divide it in half because it is only half of the rectangle. 42 divided by 2 is 21. So this guy right here, I could put 21 inches squared in there, 21 squared inches. That's all you have to do. So let's go on back to the exit ticket. You guys can go ahead and write down, oops, there's like no space. I'm going to go put this up here then. Number 4 on your exit ticket. This one is going to be for you. Remember, area equals base times height divided by 2. Or, base times height times 1/2. Same diff. I want you guys to try number 4 on your own. Take the base, times it by the height, divide it in half. Make sure you label your answer and circle your answer. Number 5. Do you see that 14? That 14 inside that triangle is not trying to label that side length. That side length is not 14. The height in the center is 14. The base is 20. Okay? So it's no different. I still need the base times the height divided by 2. The base is 20. The height is 14. And then I'll divide that by 2. Okay, 20 times 14. Well, I know 14 times 2 from that 20 would be 28, and then add the 0 that I didn't really use yet, so 280. Now 280 divided by 2. What's half of 280? Is 140 meters squared. So that means this triangle has an area of 140 meters squared. Okay, number 6. Number 6 is interesting. They are telling me that this, here I'm going to change my color since I've got that red extender piece. I'm going to do blue. 30 is from here to here. That is 30, okay? Not including the red. But from here to here is 15. This one's really, really kind of tricky. So what they're wanting you to do is find the area of the guy that's inside, right? But technically, I only know that I can find the area of this whole thing as well. This is really, really hard for people to visualize without me being able to physically move it. But if I drug that corner back down to here, like if I could like move it and move it that way, it would extend this line out further, correct? Because, I mean, obviously, if it was, if I drug this down, there's so much more right here, it wouldn't line up nicely with this at all. It would be longer. However, if I did drag this down to here, then that extra length right there would get put onto this side, which means I can actually use the 30 and this 15 to find the area of this triangle. It's really weird, I know. I wish I could drag the corners around and show you this. But if I had 30 times 15 divided by 2, that would give me the area of this triangle. 30 times 15 is 450. And then divide that by 2. Equals 225. And that's your answer. Awesome. So there are only 2 that you have to do on your own. I wanted you to do number 2 from the rectangles and number 4 from the triangles. All right, guys, that is your exit ticket. When you are done with this exit ticket, you can go ahead and put your name on it and turn this in. And then your sub will have a worksheet for you to do. All right, guys, see you later.